After years in the making, the survival horror legend returns. Resident Evil 4 is finally getting remade. Something that's been at the forefront of every single Resident Evil fan's most wanted list, most requested list, most in demand, and Capcom obviously realizes that the golden teat that keeps on milking and keeps on giving gallon after gallon obviously needs to be taken well care of. And from this 2-minute trailer, I think we're getting exactly that. This is the shit right here that I have been wanting for quite a while. Though I would be remiss if I didn't actually bring up the fact that there is part of me that's just kind of overwhelmed with sadness because I realized that myself and an entire legion, a literal sea of Code Veronica fans, though Capcom probably thinks that instead of millions it's actually like tens, but we're going to end up seeing a Resident Evil 5 remake well before we ever see them even acknowledge the existence of Code Veronica, and honestly that just takes my happy ass right to Frown Town and makes me just kind of bummed out. But then again, I also think about off in the corner, the very damp, wet, dark corner, we see the Dino Crisis franchise just shivering and crying and weeping into its hands, realizing that, where the fuck is that at? Honestly, just Code Veronica, Dino Crisis, Resurrect one franchise, acknowledge the other one for being as amazing as it is, and it is, don't act like it isn't, but we should be talking about Resident Evil 4. This is a really big deal. State of Play ended up happening. We got all sorts of Resident Evil news. We got tons of Capcom love. I mean, without E3 happening this year, because that's essentially shit the bed and you can insert whatever Amber Heard jokes you want to in that. But to me, this was one of the biggest deals, because we knew that Resident Evil 4 was getting remade. They've been talking about that for a while after they name-dropped it with Resident Evil 3 Remake. But this looks beautiful, looks amazing. This is only, again, a 2-minute trailer, but I poured over every single solitary, tiny, insignificant detail, every single frame that showed up on screen. I kept on checking that I've watched it over and over and over again. And now, I've got this laundry list of wants and demands that just drops to the floor, goes right out the door, down the hill. It's just, there's so many things that I want to see with this. And obviously Capcom is going to be smart about this because, I mean, let's face it, we can't have another Resident Evil 3 remake situation, now can we? But speaking of, that was one of the first things that had me a little bit worried. Kept on thinking to myself like, oh shit on me. There's no way in hell they could go and fuck this up twice, right? I don't want Resident Evil 4 to come out and we're missing entire large chunks and sections of the game. Unless it's the island, and I'm okay with that actually getting kicked to the curb. But still, if we're missing a bunch of content, you already know that people are going to lose their proverbial shit and take to the streets, donned in Resident Evil attire, cosplaying, and destroying everything. Running amok, flipping over cars, bricks through windows, shit being lit on fire, you name it, it could happen, because that's what happens when a fan base has been, well, turned ugly. But this is something that, honestly, should be noted, is that there was 2 development teams, one who made Resident Evil 2 Remake and Devil May Cry 5, and then there was another that made the Resident Evil 3 Remake. Well, the team that made Resident Evil 2 Remake and Devil May Cry 5, they are working on Resident Evil 4, so that was something, a sigh of relief, and we can at least feel good about that, because the RE2 remake was bar none one of the best fucking remakes. Shit, one of the best games to come out that generation. It was incredible in every single way. I love the hell out of that, and that's something that at some point I really need to talk about the RE2 and RE3 remake in like great detail, because goddamn do I have a lot to say about those. But this is going to be so damn good, because judging by the trailer and all the little bits of information that have been floating around there throughout the sea of the internet, we've gotten to see that this is obviously taking a turn for being much more grounded in survival horror roots rather than a straight up evolution from survival horror into an action game. And granted, there is going to be obviously like a ton of action and shit to go and kill, but this looks like it's going for a much darker tone, much scarier. I'm all for that, because that was one of the things that, regardless of how much I love RE4 and how many times I played through it and how many different accolades and awards I can go and hand to it, and rightfully so, since it changed the entire industry and turned that shit right on its head. Because, I mean, let's face it, RE4 is a very important game, but it lacked the horror element that made the original games so damn scary to people. Like, you know, it was intense. Like, yeah, we had that, but it wasn't actually scary. And I'm sure some people could say, oh yeah, well, whenever you see Leon's head get chopped off with a fucking chainsaw, I think you're gonna feel different. Sure, yeah, that is honestly like fucking horrifying, being chased down and you're running out of ammunition and you're just hoping to God that you can go and maybe pull off a roundhouse kick or escape by jumping out a window or something. But it wasn't as scary as, say, the RE1 remake. Like, and that to me is still just way up there in terms of scary ass games that make you feel like you're genuinely alone and you are fucked no matter which corner you turn and no matter which hallway you go and walk down. But watching this, for example, one of the things that made me so excited about this was we got to see Leon and Ashley both sporting their duds from the Resident Evil 3.5 beta. So, we might actually see a lot more content pulled from this. And as we got to see with RE2, whenever they just tossed out the Elza Walker costume for Claire, dude, we could be seeing Hookman in this. I just kept on thinking, like, okay, well, we know Leon gets infected, has nightmares and hallucinations and shit because of plagas and all that, but what if? What if we actually get to see Hookman? What if we get to play through some kind of supernatural scenario like that, where the Hookman ethereal ghost dude is going and chasing him down? What if we get to play through something like that? Or what if they just sideline that shit and they just make an enemy who is a pursuer that is chasing you all the time from area to area, room to room? What if this is one of the new inclusions? Because we've had Mr. X, we've had Nemesis. They could decide to go and toss that in there because, again, this is a remake, so it wouldn't hurt to do something like that. And personally, I'd actually welcome it for certain areas that seem to be a bit more calm, and it might break up the whole monotonous just Granada enemy that you see everywhere and anywhere. I'd be okay with some shit like that. And again, paying homage to your history, let alone a history that only those diehards know all about, because we've poured over every single detail and piece of information, from all the stuff that didn't make it into the game to the things that were in the demos and the betas, all the concept art that you can go and find, all the shit that landed on the cutting room floor. I love that sort of stuff. And if they're going and doing this, I mean, anything is possible. Hell, I'm sure that there's plenty of enemies that never made it into the game that could possibly end up getting the remake treatment and get plopped into new sections. Who the fuck knows? But I want it to happen so damn bad. And speaking of, if we're going to be doing some shit, for any of you out there that picked up Darkside Chronicles on Nintendo Wii, there is some awesome shit for RE4 fans on there. I don't know how many people actually bothered with that, but you should. Umbrella Chronicles, Darkside Chronicles, play those things. They are fucking amazing. Like, if you're big into Time Crisis, if you're big into House of Dead, you should be picking this up as a fan of on-rail shooters. Like, come on. And also Carnival. I'm sorry, that game's fucking amazing. Anyhow, Darkside Chronicles had events that took place several years before Resident Evil 4. So we got to see Krauser and Leon going and kicking the shit out of a whole bunch of stuff, going after Umbrella. This is all stuff, and you actually get an entirely new chapter after you play through that of just Krauser from his perspective, giving him a much needed character development. I'm just like, dude, include this shit. I know that there's a lot of people that never got to mess with that game. This would be awesome, and it would be fantastic to go include that into this. And if they do that, dude, I'd be happier than all hell to go and see that, because to me, it's just like, yeah, Separate Ways is amazing, but why not just do this? I mean, go all the fuck out. That's something that I would honestly just be happy as shit. But graphically, this game looks amazing. They finally realized that they didn't need to make everything just brown and gray, and they tapped into the color wheel, and everything just looks amazing. Like, the actual town itself, there's lush green, the actual fire looked all pretty, everything looked so damn good. Some of the woods that they were traversing through earlier on, whenever you see Ashley just running for her life, and Leon walking around, it's like very blue, very green, and I'm just like, dude, this looks so damn good. Like, to be fair, it's the RE engine, so as expected, it's obviously going to be very pretty. Anything that they put on that thing looks fucking incredible. And speaking of Ashley running around, okay, I'm pretty sure that all of you have seen the endless memes out there that she's based off of an Instagram model, and she's hotter than shit now, especially by comparison to her original RE4 version. But it is funnier than hell to watch the entire fandom just do a 180 and go from, I hate that bitch, wanting to go and unload several inventory spaces worth of clips right into her head, and while she runs around she sounds like a maraca or some shit, to saying, oh my god, I'll save her, I can change her, I'll be there for you, anything you need, my queen, and they are at her beck and call. And it's just, it's amused the shit out of me. And some of the memes of just like seeing the old version and new version, she's just like, you've taken everything from me, and she's like, I don't even know who the hell you are, but yes, I sort of have. It's just, I love seeing that sort of shit. I'm just like, no, applause all day, give me that stuff, and any day of the week. But I also like the idea of just imagining whenever she's running around scared shitless about whatever's trying to go and kill her or kidnap her, is if she was wearing her armor, like, imagine her having a suit of armor while she's running through. She sounds like Steiner from Final Fantasy IX, just clanking everywhere. I don't know, to me, it just made me chuckle and laugh a whole bunch. I'm just like, yeah, I need to go and see this kind of shit. Naturally, when it lands on PC, we're going to see mods that are obviously going to include this kind of shit, so I can't wait. That'll be great. They even said during State of Play that we're going to be getting another VR game for Resident Evil 4. So that'll be two. The original Resident Evil 4 with the cut content has a VR version, and then they were just like, oh yeah, Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 4 Remake, yeah, VR versions for everybody. VR here, VR there. I was just like, can we just get a VR version for something like, let's say, the original Resident Evil? I know it's pre-rendered backgrounds and it'd be too fucking hard to do without remaking it from the ground up, which I would be okay with, but it'd be a remake of a remake. I'm getting ahead of myself, gotta focus on RE4, holy shit. Still, VR fans, I personally don't have a VR headset, but I have friends that do, so I can just go and play it at theirs. Things are looking good. Looking up. So, we also got to see the return of two characters that we've wanted to see how they look in this. Ada, obviously, we got to see in the RE2 remake, but we got to see her in this trailer, and she's sporting some new duds that she didn't have in RE4. And Luis also, dude, he looked badass as shit. He actually reminded me of Garcia Hotspur with the outfit that he was wearing, and then had the red 9 with him, and I'm just like, my man! That good fucking taste, you cannot ever deny that that gun isn't the fucking holy grail. It's so damn cool. It's, all bias aside, it's exciting, but then again, just going back to the wish list, Luis needs to have some kind of chapter just to himself. Like, this dude is a focal point at the epicenter of all the shit that you are dealing with while running around. And it's like, he's so important, but he shows up, here's an item, then he dips off and just disappears, and it's like, dude, what the fuck? He's in a couple cutscenes, then he's gone again. I want them to go and just give him the full treatment. Give him an unlockable chapter. Put him in the mercenaries mode, by the way. You cannot fuck this up. Put him in there. He deserves to be in there. It is vital that he needs this love. Like, let's be honest. But it would also be good for just, like, the natural world building that we want to see from Resident Evil 4. I mean, to me, I've always wanted to know like his backstory, what he's been doing in between all the different events of RE4 while we don't actually see him. I mean, granted, you know, he got kidnapped and shit, but leading up to that, maybe all the stuff that happened before, if we're gonna do the Dark Side Chronicles shit with Krauser and Leon, why not with this? It would just be awesome. I mean, every time that we are just running, just scared shitless from our generator, we have to go and realize that dude was kind of responsible for doing that. Granted, you know, he didn't realize all the shit that was going on and was against his will in many ways, and he tried to go and fight back, and that's how we got to the point that we're in. And holy fuck, the RE engine and seeing like Luis and Mike just biting the bullet, dude, it's gonna be gory as shit. It's gonna be depressing and gory, and I mean, you know, my inner horror aficionado is just like screaming happiness, but man, it's also gonna break my fucking heart. My still beating heart is just dead. But man, I imagine that because they're going with this like much darker, much more serious tone, we're probably not going to see some of the cheesy and hokey dialogue that we got to see in Resident Evil 4, and I'll be honest, that shit bothers me a lot because of this. I want them to strike this fine balance in between Leon just busting out one-liners left and right, and I realize that we're not going to hear about Ashley's ballistics and shit, and that saddens me beyond comprehension, but I can just go back and play like the RE4 Steam version, the HD remake the fans did. It's amazing, by the way. You should go out of your way to get that because, hot damn, they did so much work with that. I mean, it's just years worth of effort put in. I love when fans come together and do some shit like that. Amazing. But still, back to the point, seeing that this game is going with that, it's like, we're not going to be fighting some giant mech and shit, and I know certain like dialogue exchanges are probably going to be radically different, but does it have to be that way? I mean, I think that they honestly could get away with a lot of this shit. It would break up the tension and allow them to feel like real characters. And look, I like corny Leon. I like goofy Leon. And granted, in this trailer here, he definitely comes off like he has PTSD because he's just like, oh man, all this shit that happened in Raccoon City and I've done all this training and I go from the Oval Office here and then everything is just tits up and we're fucked in every single way and Ada's gone and then he's just weeping and crying into his lean cuisine and it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, you poor dude. But I just want to see him go, where'd everybody go? Bingo? That's the Leon that I want. I need that. I want him to talk about hands that actually pop off. That's the Leon that I love. But we're not going to get that, are we? It's going to be dead fucking serious. Dead ass serious. 100%. But with that being said, we are going to get a lot more scary elements in this game, and that's something that I would like because you do typically just go from area to area, and if you've played the game as much as I have, and plenty of you have, then you already know it's kind of like a shooting gallery. You're not even really all that scared. You've already loaded up with a bunch of ammo, and you fucked up everybody in front of you. I mean, how many knives, how many roundhouse kicks have you delivered? Way too many to count. But this is something that I think would be a good change. If they can go and find that balance, I'll be happy. But if not, yeah, I at least got the original I can still go back to. And they can be preserved and treated like two different things. Still something to go and note. I mean, watching this, seriously, just, it blew my mind because it's one of those things like, I remember I got my GameCube version over here. As a matter of fact, there's people who are just like, oh man, another Resident Evil 4, you just gonna buy another one? Dude, I got like 4 copies sitting behind me right now. Yes, I am. I'm going to buy another fucking copy of RE4. Of course I am. Like, I need to see more shenanigans with Leon Scott Kennedy out there just doing it up. Please make that happen. But this is just, oh, you know what? I forgot about something. Can we get another chainsaw controller? I got ADD right now because, again, I just keep on thinking about all this shit. Can we please get another chainsaw controller? Look, we had one for GameCube, we had one for PS2. Do it again. Make one for Xbox, make one that's compatible with PC, make one for PlayStation 5. Please make this shit happen. I'm sorry, but whenever I got to play through Super Mario Sunshine with the RE4 chainsaw controller, it brought a smile to my face, and I want that bitch to be wireless. I really do. Look, I'm not into waggle controls, but if we can go and do that in any way, I need that. I do. I seriously need that. Damn, would that be cool. Like, again, this is just one of those things, like, you keep on thinking about all the shit that you want to see included. Like, we definitely need the mercenaries mode to be inside there. They can't go and exclude that. Please, for the love of fucking God. We don't need all this extra shit that you keep on trying to put out that's separate from the games. Like, you fucked up bad with the RE3 remake. Please do not do that with this. And again, separate team. I think they know what they're doing. But just point being, it's something that should be said. Because you don't want to see it happen. Like, you really don't. Anytime that I think about that, I'm just like, that'll fuck it up. Like, you can't take away from the experience. I mean, RE4 is also one of the longest Resident Evils. I'd rather them go and build upon this shit than take large chunks away. And sure, like, they can go and rework certain areas to allow the pacing to work a lot better. Maybe include some new monsters, shake up some areas. Please, for the love of God, include some puzzles. I know that that's not a big deal to plenty of people out there, that Resident Evil 4 was their very first Resident Evil, which plenty of you watching this right now, for you, that probably was. Maybe you didn't fuck around with the old ones, but dude, I love that kind of shit. I do. It was something that, to me, it became synonymous with horror games. If you played through Silent Hill, if you played through Resident Evil, there was lots of puzzles, lots of action, lots of scares. I like all of that shit. Strike that right balance. That shit can be incredible, and I need that, like, I do. It's just something that I want them to go and do it. I'm just not sure if they think, will our market really want to go and do that? But it would be kind of cool. Like, honestly, just imagine that shit. It would be nice. But, again, back to the trailer. I mean, seeing everything inside of it, it's so damn nice. Like, we got to see some of the zealots and how fucked up that they looked. I mean, okay, the Granada already looked really messed up, and I love the attention to detail of everything about them, through like the veins going up through their face. Like, there's like bits of flesh that are just like chipped off of their face. Their eyes are all red and yellow and really nasty looking. I'm just like, dude, that looks incredible. But the zealots are nasty looking. Like, they don't just look like they're dudes wearing robes and just like walking around doing shit, busting out crossbows and shit, ready to go and fuck you up from a distance and be irritating and annoying. This time around, like, you get to see the mutation just taking over. It's just like bubbling up out of the shoulder and from their neck, and it's just gross and disgusting. And I imagine anytime we're aiming down the iron sights, every single round that we pop into one of those, it's going to burst and be disgusting, like to the point of, you know what, maybe I'm not all that hungry. Dinner? Nah, that can wait. Fuck it. I'm good. Nope. And to think that, imagine how some of the boss fights are going to be. Like, dude, that's something that I cannot wait for. Like, certain transformations, like, dude, it's going to look so fucking cool. Like, I really cannot wait for some of this. Like, I want to see how bustling certain areas are. I want to know if there's going to be new things that we can interact with when it comes to the environment, different types of strategies that we'll have to go and make, if they're going to rework certain areas to make them more exciting, or give us like alternate options and secret areas to go to, and what kind of things that we can go and find. Maybe we can even just see more story, which is most definitely one of the things that I love a lot about Resident Evil, and I realize isn't the most important aspect to a lot of people, but seeing how the cutscenes were worked out in RE2, RE3 Remake, I'm just like, yes, more of this, please, by all means, because they just knocked it out of the park with like the voice acting, the way that the characters animate and emote. They look so fucking cool. I mean, we got Leon Kennedy back in his bomber jacket, and that shit's supposed to be based off of like the real life one that you could buy, the really overly expensive one. But all the same, the fact that kind of detail, I love that. It's, oh god, is it so fucking cool. Resident Evil 4 has like resonated with people, resonate, whatever. It's a weird sentence, but it's resonated with fans throughout all these years. And we're nearing the 20th anniversary. 2 fucking decades. Again, makes you feel old as shit whenever you start talking about it, because plenty of us can still remember when we first picked this game up. We can remember every single area. We can remember every single boss strategy. I mean, shit, we all remember Huey and saving him, and then he came back later. I loved events like that. Also, please remaster Haunting Ground for the love of fucking God. I realize I'm just like Code Veronica and Dino Crisis. Yes, I'm going to continue to do this, Capcom, because you've been fucking killing it. So do that. Haunting Ground remaster, it would be lovely. But I would love more events like that with Huey, where depending on the that you make, it'll go and affect things later on. Yes! More of this, please! And ramp up the gore, like, do not fuck around. I really want to see them go all out. Some of the shit that they've been able to do with the engine, I'm just like, oh, I need it. And I do, like, as a fan of horror movies, and like, one of the best ones being like Dead Alive / Brain Dead, dude, I'd pour the gore out. Just blood everywhere. Like that cop getting ripped in half in RE2. That shit right there. That's what I want from this. I mean, we already got to see those two cops that were hemmed up on hooks in the middle of town, burning alive. That shit was grisly as hell, and it's still one of the best openings of any game. That entire town, it just fucked you up. So, we got callbacks to Resident Evil 3.5. We got this coming out on March 24th, so within a year, we've got it running on the RE engine, makes everything look incredible, and we could see a whole lot more added to Resident Evil, and that just excites me beyond understanding. Like, it is. I know that a lot of this might just be based purely on nostalgia, but I also think about how much more they could do, and I can't wait for that shit. And again, give us Mercenaries mode. Do it. Don't fuck around with that. Give us Mercenaries mode. I demand it. I demand it. It'd be cool as shit. So, with that being said, I also am going to shift gears now and talk a bit about me personally, where the hell I've been. The incomparable AlphaOmegaSin returning onto YouTube and all of that, and it's just like, okay. So, for me, the past couple years have been insane because I lost 3 family members. And going to 3 separate funerals for that. 2 friends died, one from an overdose and one from suicide. And I only got to attend one of those funerals because the other one, I couldn't get a flight out there. And that shit was just overwhelming. And it's like, I already suffer from depression pretty damn bad, and it used to be that I could just throw myself into doing YouTube. And that'd be a good way to focus on something and get my mind off of shit, and it's a positive aspect of my life. But after a while, it became that it wasn't able to help me nearly as much as it used to. I mean, when my mother passed away, I poured myself into YouTube even more, and I did way more. And after a bit, that wasn't able to do it, and I had to go and make certain changes in my life. I had to go and do a lot more positive things for me, mentally, emotionally, and it's not like, you know, everything had been bad. I mean, shit, we went through all the crap with COVID. COVID fucking sucked, obviously. The entire world's just, like, turned on its head and just fucking spinning. But I desperately want to come back, and it's like, every time that I started making something, and I'm talking like for a long while now, I've got so many things written on there that I've gone into great detail. I've got folders worth of gameplay footage of things that I want to write up because I want to do like full-length, detailed reviews, and I thought about just opening a second channel for that and just making this how I usually do, just one take and talk about everything. But I'm just like, every time that I was trying to make something, I was like, this fucking sucks, I don't like it, everybody deserves better, and then I'd be down about it, and I'd feel sorry for myself. And that's not what you should do. You have to be fucking positive. You have to go pick yourself up, quit feeling sorry for yourself, and you have to do some shit. And I genuinely want to apologize to everybody out there. It's just like, there's a lot of me that I never want to divulge any details about my personal life because I like to keep it just that, personal. But with this, I was just like, I'll talk about as much of it as I possibly can. And it's not to say like everything's bad. There's been like lots of cool things. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but I got married. That's pretty fucking cool. It was something that it felt like most definitely the right time, and she's honestly fucking incredible in every single way. I mean, what's not to love about a metalhead into Parasite Eve and Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and her favorite band is Megadeth? Like, clearly very fucking cool, and it just, we have like this great deal in... You know how rude it is that you're in the middle of pouring your heart out and talking about your life, then all of a sudden your camera just shuts off. I'm just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm in the middle of trying to go and explain a whole bunch of aspects of my life, and then suddenly my camera just says, fuck it, I'm done, and it doesn't make a notice, it doesn't make a sound, it doesn't do anything. I was talking for several minutes, well past all that shit, so I'm now having to do this on my phone because that thing's stupid as shit. But anyway, I just want to go and say that life's actually been good. I have a lot more things in store that I want to go and do. I want to make a podcast with my best friends, if it'd be something that you'd all be interested in, just talking about video games, anime, tabletop gaming, you name it, retro gaming, new gaming, just whatever. Because it's something that I had already planned on doing and then get into studio together, all the shit with COVID. It's extremely frustrating and very annoying realizing that world events go and affect everything in all sorts of crazy ass ways and manners that you wouldn't ever expect. I mean, I definitely want to go and review the Final Fantasy VII Remake, because I have a lot of shit to say about that. Both good and bad. Lots of things to praise and lots of things to tear the fuck apart. And that was the very last video that I got to do, was talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I was like, you know what? That would be a good idea and something I definitely like to do. But, I mean, all this stuff, again, like, opening a new channel just for, like, reviews, keeping this with, like, just talking about news, rants, whatever the fuck it is I'm going to do. I definitely want to talk about more stuff from State of Play, because we got the spiritual successor to Dead Space, and hot diddly damn did it look good. It just, my survival horror loving ass was just on cloud 9, because there was so much to go and discuss. But all this stuff said, I just want to say again, I apologize for not being around, for not going and talking about this stuff. I know that'd be a lot easier if I did, but it's just one of those things that I just kept to myself. And depression is a bitch. It is. It affects, like, everything that you do, and it's... There's really not a whole lot that you can do other than try to overcome it. And I've got a good support network, you know? It's just something like... Making this, I think, helps in a lot of ways. And if you do want to see all this type of content, or more content, or if you even give a shit that I'm alive, please like the video, like everybody has to go. I hate YouTube shit, like the video, comment on the video, subscribe, resubscribe, or just share it around, or anything like that. Get a hashtag going. Just, I don't know, anything that you possibly can do, but leave lots of love. I appreciate the living hell out of it, and just stay tuned.